welcome everybody. So let's start with how DaVinci works. By definition, you know that you have to start a project by activating the application. And when it comes up, it generally asks for defining what is the project location, what is the name, and so on. This is the most important element of any nonlinear environment. You activate your project settings because you need to know what is going to be part of it. In this case, this project is already set up. But if you set up a brand new project untitled, you are able to define what is going to be the frame rate, what is going to be the aspect ratio, what is going to be the color, where the backups will be. So this is something that we have a number of webinars talking about it. I don't want to waste your precious time with this, but this is something that in the beginning, generally you set up. Reason being, this software likes to define at the beginning what is that you will be working with. What is the frame rate, aspect ratio, raster size. I did set up something that is, for this particular presentation, going to be very helpful for you guys to not just to see in motion, but to experience how long does it take to do something. I call this project Resolve May 2024 webinar. It opens up, and I have always said, if you're a user of software, you stick to basics. The basics that I am referring to is in the workspace dropdown where I reset the user interface layout. That guarantees that whatever I had, doesn't matter how I set things up. Namely, if I make adjustments and I do things, goofy stuff, and things are all over the place, I can force the real estate to set up the reset user interface layout. That's the one thing I like to have, especially on an environment like this that is a single monitor environment. So the first thing that you notice is that, like in any nonlinear, you have the source monitor, program monitor, the timeline. This is what I have as an opening, so you know who I am. My name is Tibor. This is a webinar, May 24. This is a topic list that I am sharing with you. And before I go any further, I need to step away for a quick 30 seconds to explain to you why am I dealing with this version. Command H hides it, go on to the Safari and type in Blackmagic. And I'm looking for the support link. And the support link on the bottom left-hand corner is going to list you, if you don't have DaVinci yet, what you can use Mac, Windows, or Linux and download either the free version or the version that is the paid version. So it looks like to me right now on May 15th, the DaVinci Resolve 19 is out, but it's in public beta. So right now, as I will be continuing, I will be talking about the version that is approved, fully functional, and it's still installed in many applications, many environments. So I'm going to go back to close my Safari because it is using up space for the RAM and going back to DaVinci. So now we're back in DaVinci. The basic premise is you need to put together a story very efficiently. So here is what I am suggesting. If you have material, upper left-hand corner media pool, you can actually get material, put it together, and slap it into a timeline. Right now, my timeline is saying that I'm using a webinar basic sequence. I'm going to close it, which is exit out, kick it out, hello. So if you have material, you can always scrub it by just pointing at it in the media pool, or you can grab, let's say, this number of shots, drag and drop, there is your story. That's done. Shift Z shows you the entire timeline, so now you have the story put together. You can actually cut it up, chop it up, mark in, mark out, cut it up, small delete, extracts it. So if you want to chop it up, IO, you know the system, very simple, very easy. And if you are ready, you can actually do a quick color adjustment on it. This is the fast color adjustment. Go into the color. Oh, by the way, if you're novice to DaVinci, you know that there are workspaces, the media, the cut page, the edit page, the fusion page, which is an animation tool. It's a totally separate software that was included into or merged into the DaVinci family, Resolve family to be more specific. Then you have the color, which is what DaVinci was famous for. And then you have a sound. Now in color, if you're a colorist, you know that you can do very, very fast adjustments. This is a quick answer to a request just minutes ago. This is my answer. if a person's face is to be adjusted, and this is one of those things that you need to pay for, I would like to change the person's face. Now, the problem with that is going to be, look at how long the shot is. Well, I don't know if it's long enough, but I only see the face for maybe
Introduce your product, please.
a couple of seconds.
Sure.
But as soon as I am losing the face, that's not going to be relevant for me. I'm going to zooming in and I'm going to cut this shot in half, which is Command B. So only the area where the face is visible. Let's see how the face recognition works. The tool is requiring, or to be specific, likes to have the two eyes, the nose, lips, cheeks, chin visible all the time. Okay, so if that is visible, see how the system works. Let's test it. This wasn't planned, but because you asked for it, let's see if we can do it fast and efficient, because that's what everybody is asking of you as editors to do it. So let's see what kind of stuff we can do. I generally add another node, and that node is going to be the face refinement. If you know where to look for it, upper right-hand corner, you have the effects palette. And if you don't know what the program element is, meaning the adjustment element, is called face refinement. So in the magnifying glass, type in face, and it shows a face refinement. So if you throw the face refinement on that shot, the computer will ask you, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I would like to go to the beginning, and I'll tell the computer to please analyze the face. Now, watch me. I did not select the face at all. This is artificial intelligence way back 3-4 versions ago. So I click on the analyze, watch what happens. The analyzer should put an overlay on the face. There we go. And you can see that the face, that's it. That was it. What did happen? Look at that green wireframe. So the analyzer recognizes that it is a face, human face, magical. And if I want to have that face, for example, more contrasty or less contrasty, I want to have the mid-tone, so it looks like he's like bleached out or strange colors, or I want to have the color boost, okay, dry him out. And because it is done in real time, I'll take the overlay, watch it now. I'm going to Command S it, save it just in case things crash, because I don't believe in unpreparedness. Command F, full screen. Let's see.
Introduce your product, please.
Of course.
Sure. Introduce your product, please.
Do you see it? His face is, because we picked only the face. Now, if you move further around, you can see that the chin is not selected. Well, the chin is selected, but anything below that is not. You see that? So that's the face refinement. If I have other face refinements, clearly, you know, it would be a good idea. For example, in this case, let's see if it recognizes her face. As soon as I walk away from it, then there's no need for me to have it face refinement. Let's find out. Now, problem is going to be, I have no nose, no lips, no chin, maybe some chin, cheeks. Let's find out. Watch this, please. I'm going to separate it in quick edit. As soon as it moves away, I will cut it up. So somewhere here, I'm cutting it up. So I'm making only a segment of that clip analyzed. Going to color. This tool is in color. Generally, a second node is the way to go, but you obviously can throw it onto the main node. I highlight it and I drag the face refinement on it. I need to tell the computer, am I going backwards or forward? In this case, I will go forward automatically, and I will ask the computer, please, to analyze it. Let's see if it works. Will it recognize with the mask? Oh, there we go. So now we have it. In this case, I can actually do something with the eyes. Watch this. I'm going to make it full screen. I'm going to zoom into the image in here. So I'm going to grab the eyes, and I'm going to have the eyes brightened up. The eyes are kind of very, very specific. Color grading. What is the eye? Eye retouching. I'm going to have the sharpening of the eyes. I'm going to have the brighten the eyes, which is like ridiculous. Or I can also have the eye light, so around her eye, like a shadow around her. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it is really a cool way of doing it.
Each musician can control their own headphone or ear.
Eye whites are like really, really, really bright. You see that without? With the effect. Anyway, so that is the face refinement. And as you saw, the face refinement likes to have the full face facing the camera. 2 eyes, forehead, cheeks, chin, lips, nose. Okay, so that's my short answer to that request. Let me move along because I need to get back to where I was. So if you saw me put together a story, which in this case, let's see, this is a story that I put together. Shift Z. Spitting it out is very easy. Well, what happens if somebody says, give me the color, the entire show, color it, instead of individual colors? This is a quick one in terms of color adjustment. I don't know if you're familiar with this. If you're not, please observe. Instead of adding color to individual clips, which is clip by clip by clip by clip, clip individual color, I will add a filter which will make sure that everybody's black and white or everybody's sepia tone. And that requires that I go and switch from the clip to the timeline, upper right-hand corner, timeline. So now I'm going to add a node, and notice that node is a blue node. This blue node I'm going to make either very dark, very contrasty. Everybody, if you look at it, each clip is going to be that. Don't trust me until I show you. Everything is like really hyper color. But here's the thing that I told you about the color. Go back into the timeline and make sure that whatever I had, I'm going to reset it by turning it back, and I'm going to make it saturation down. Everything is black and white. Is it? Yes. Test it, please. Here it is. Still, the footage in the timeline shows on the icon on the little thumbnail. But everything is black and white. The entire show is black and white. And this, for some editors who come from either Premiere or Avid, is confusing because there's no layer in the timeline in Edit. Yes, because I put it in color. Oh, we got it. And that is the trick here. So I turn it off. I'm back. If I want to do something fancy, generally I would say maybe, bring the saturation back, but I will maybe bring the saturation down a bit, and I'm going to push the red, which is going to give me a sepia tonish kind of a look, take away the blue, and now I have the whole show kind of sepia tonish with the saturation down. There we go. Some people call it Breaking Bad look. I don't know if it is, but if you know the series I'm talking about, that's what that is. There's a movie out there that I remember back a couple of years, Book of Eli, that had that same look. Anyways, so my point is that we have, as I just promised, went through that whole process of showing what the fast and easy way of putting together stuff is. And here we go. So let's go through the elements. So here's the one that we like a lot, and that is the auto subtitles. Let's say that you go to a trade show. This is a trade show, American Engineering Society in New York City last fall. And the people are giving me demonstrations of a product. So for example, here is a product that is a product about isolation of sound. I have an accent. He has an accent, and we're going to find out if the voice recognition that translates the sound into type, will it recognize the accent? Listen to the segment and watch it. I'm going to select it just into us. I know I'm dealing with only that section. Listen and watch.
Introduce your product, please.
Of course.
Sure.
So these are acoustic panels.
Got you.
And they are divided into three families. So diffusion panels like these.
Okay.
And absorption panels.
Did you absorb it?
Yeah.
Got it.
And this is a mix between diffusion with oak and cork for absorption. And this is a diffusion panel.
What are the materials? So now you have a cork here.
So now he's talking about what the product contains, and those are very specific things: cork and wood. So the question I am asking myself, how does the system recognize it? I'm going to use a smaller segment because I don't want to waste too much time. This is a shorter segment. Please watch it. I want to make sure that it is dying fast, meaning when I say fast, the recognition will be taking less time, so it doesn't take up too much time. And full screen.
What would you recommend?
So, what I would recommend in that context would be the ATP packs.
Got it.
So just go on our website.
So he's using abbreviation ATP. Okay, panels. Let's see if the voice recognition does understand that. So the first thing is that I selected the in and out, or you select the highlight. Only that element, not anybody else, just that element. That's one. In order for me to secure that that is the only element that the computer is going to be analyzing, I'm making sure that it is in and outed, selected, and watch the next step. It is a timeline. It is a story. If you have seen this before, it's not going to be exciting. But if you haven't, let's see if it makes sense. Timeline drop down and say create or generate subtitles from audio. And it will ask you what language. Well, in this case, I will let it be automatic, but these are the languages right now on version 18.6.4 available. Danish, Dutch, English, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Korean, in the Mandarin, Norwegian, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and Swedish. Now, I will leave it to auto because I think that the computer is smart enough to recognize it. So if it's auto, let's see. How does it create it? It will take some time initializing it, kicking it in. And because I selected the short segment, let's see how long does this segment. This is real time. This is not made up. There we go. So the information came up on that track. And you notice that if I zoom in, which is Command plus, there is elements broken down. So I'm going to play it full screen. Watch what the typing looks like.
What would you recommend?
So, what I would recommend in that context would be the ATP packs.
Got it.
So just go on our website and on the product page, scroll down, and in the bottom you'll have ATP packs.
Are you kidding me? This is the coolest thing since pick something. I like this a lot. If you have seen it, this is really, really fun. But here's my problem. My problem is, first of all, I don't like the font. Maybe I don't like the location. So you should be able to do some manipulation, some management of it. Here's what I am looking at. Because you are a DaVinci user, a DaVinci Resolve user, you know that anytime you want to manipulate something, you have to go into the inspector. So in this case, I'm going to go in the inspector. And in the inspector, I'm going to look for the narration, the subtitle thing. And the subtitle thing tells me that I can make adjustments if I want to do something. Okay, I'm not going to adjust it. But I will make sure that I am maybe customizing it. So instead of having it what the computer tells me, I should be able to bring it down a bit, like I'm making it smaller, bigger. There we go. Bring it down. There we go. Oh, maybe I want to have some kind of a background so it is not melting in white, is not melting into white. So if I turn the background, or now there we go. So now it's easier for me to see.
Scroll down and
anyway, so the point is that now throughout that whole duration, it is the same font and it is now giving me that background, which I am really happy about because I don't know if you watch major cable television. There's a whole bunch of foreign languages that are used, and sometimes the voicing or the translation is not easy to read. So to me, this is probably the best way to make it work. And as I said, it is my decision to go up or down. And what is the font? Well, I can actually check the font if I want to open sans or maybe change it to whatever the fonts are. And this is the coolest thing that I like. I would like to separate the noise from the spoken word.
We can accommodate just about any flavor body.
So essentially, when you switched from version 18.6.4 to 18.6.6, some things changed, namely the voice isolation. In the version 18.6.4, the voice isolation was found in the Fairlight. So you had to go to Fairlight, activate the track, and that's where the track assignment gave you the option of making that particular track. In this case, that would be audio track 1, isolate the voice for the entire track. Now, in version 18.6.6, it is much more easier to deal with this. Namely, if you get a clip, like for example, we have a clip, let's play it out and let's see what's going on.
What's your flagship?
Sorry.
Oh, interestingly, I hear some clean voice. Essentially, in 18.6.6, the inspector became now again a helping tool. Therefore, you park on the clip where you want to have the voice isolation. And in the inspector, switch from the regular video to the audio. In the audio, from the choices you have, you are looking at the voice isolation. So the voice isolation can be turned on and off by just clicking on this little orange red button. If it's turned off, let's listen to the clip. I'm going to loop it.
What's your flagship?
Flagship is our Hearback Pro, and it comes, and you can add the digital.
It's clearly noisy. So if you open up the voice isolation allows you to set up, let's say, a percentage. Let's bring it down like 67 is something. I don't know.
Overlay labeling on it, and well, I mean, change the mix, turn a knob, keep on playing.
It's much simpler. So if we clear out the into out, let's go to the next clip, activate, I like to use the X separation, so we separate it by in and out. And if we loop it, that is the only section that will be looped. If we zoom in, it looks like this. Therefore, let's hear what's going on there.
What's your price point MSRP?
So MSRP on this is just a little over 6K for a 4-pack. So that's
Got you.
So it is clearly a noisy environment. Therefore, one more time, activate the inspector. The clip is selected. Switch from the video to the audio and do turn on the voice isolation. It defaults to 100. You can minimize it by holding down the mouse and move it in smaller increments, or if you use the big sliders, it moves in larger increments. Let's say we're down to 70 because we're playing into out. Let's hear how clean it is now.
MSRP on this is just a little over 6K for a 4-pack. So that's
Got you.
the brands and 4 mixers.
What's your price point MSRP?
So MSRP on this is just a little over 6K for
Now with the noise.
a 4-pack. So that's
Got you.
the brands and 4 mixers.
And one more time with the noise cleanup.
What's your price point MSRP?
So MSRP on this is just a little over 6.
So clearly there are much more ways of using this. For example, if you're out in a field and there is an airplane noise or wind or anything like that. So the system should function. Let's now work on the scenario where the voice is used to generate the feature of the subtitle. If we look at the segment that we're parked on and we in and out it with an X, and we go back to our friend, the inspector, turn on the audio, and we know that the voice isolation is turned off. Let's listen and see how loud it is.
Introduce your product, please.
When I say loud, I'm referring to the noise behind.
Of course.
Sure.
So these are acoustic panels,
Got you.
and they are divided into 3 families. So
Got
the
it.
So theoretically, the system is smart enough that if you click on the icon that represents the clip, and in the timeline, you define that you want to create the subtitles from the audio, you automatically choose the English will be recognized, and it recognizes the accents. I have an accent. The presenter has an accent. So if we select the into out, it identifies that that's the segment we're going to be analyzing. So if we identify that this is the segment that we will create a subtitle from audio, when we play it, it will be noisy.
Introduce your product, please.
of course.
Sure.
So these are acoustic panels.
Got you.
So he's saying these are acoustic panels. So the question is, will it be recognized? I don't want to waste time with it, so I will go into the inspector. In the inspector, I will separate the voice isolation 67 and see what happens. My presumption and expectation is that if I click on the timeline drop down and create a subtitle from audio, it will generate it very efficiently. There we go. So if we look at things, it tells
Okay.
me.
And absorption panels.
Does they absorb it?
Yeah.
Got it.
This is a mix between diffusion with oak and cork for a
So it's actually recognized that it's oak and cork he's talking about. So it's like a really cool way of helping you understanding what's going on. And if you still want the voice isolation to be off, you can still hear it noisy. But originally we used the voice isolation to separate to help the computer.
and they are divided into 3 families. So
Got it.
diffusion panels like these,
Okay.
and absorption panels.
And if we turn it back on,
Does they
by default's always to 100. So I would just bring it down to like, I don't know, 60, 70, somewhere in there.
absorb it?
Yeah.
Got it.
And this is a mix between diffusion with oak.
So the point is that now it is a clip, a segment based, as opposed to track based as it was in the 1864. Very cool feature, very practical, very powerful. Let's do one more section where the guy is talking about things. Again, selecting into out. I will make sure that the voice isolation is initiated and bring it down to right. I think 67 is usually a good start because I selected into out. Clicking on the timeline drop down, create subtitles, and it will tell me in 5, 4, 3. There we go.
What are the materials? So now you have a cork here. I think.
Oak,
Oak.
cork, ABS,
Yes. Okay.
MDF, glass reinforced plastic, ceramics, wood, ABS again, and felt.
Okay, so it is really clean. Now, if you want to make adjustments like in any kind of title environment, you would have to go and in this case, I'm going to zoom in slightly, activate the title environment. In the title environment, in the inspector, there you can actually change what is that. For example, if you want to have the ABS together as opposed to separate, ABS, ABS, there we go. And the change is made. It's registered, it's working.
3/4 plastics, ceramics, wood, ABS again.
And it's very, very powerful. Separation is probably the most important element of anything that you do in color grading. There is a drummer that is playing drums on a synthetic drum thing that gives you the feel of the drums, but the sound is digital. Now, the sound obviously is toned down because I separate everything. So in order for me to make sure that I hear all the sound that is in the room, I go back and turn off the voice separation thing. So going back into color, now you can hear him playing, but that's not the focus of this exercise. I want to have him separated. Now, I did already a separation just for your enjoyment, and I did separate him from the background by making sure that I have a version that is, for example, like this. Watch it. He's black and white. The surrounding is normal color. I will make sure that he is not black and white. He is only visible and the surrounding is black and white. So I have some versions that I preset just for your demonstrations, for your enjoyment. And watch this. Now you notice that his left arm, I lost the color. The reason being is because when I selected him, wanted to separate him, I did not separate the arm from the background. And I'm going to talk to you about that just in a minute. So whatever I have, I don't really care. I want to go back to the original, which is going to be the clean one, version clean, and I'm loading the clean one. This is what is going on. Please pay attention. It's a drummer, and I want to separate him from the background. The hands are moving. That's the biggest challenge. Now, this is the step. You have done this probably in the past. If you haven't, please observe it. So if you don't have any nodes, just the primary node, I'm not going to do the color grading. We'll talk about that just in a minute when I come back, but I need to do the separation to right away impress upon you how smart this is. By definition, if you're in color, whatever clip you're parked on, that's going to be looping. That's by definition. Anyway, so with this scenario, I'll show you what I meant when I said separation. There are obviously ways to separate it by, adding a, halo or something, separate the guy and everything. And if I want to do that, I can actually say, hey, make just him more brighter by definition of maybe pull this, make him brighter, darker. But that's a halo. It's not a specific shadow and everything else. The other tool that I see a lot of people still do, and that's where the money comes in, I will actually select not a general shape, but I'm going to draw things around the guy. Okay. And that sometimes I don't really care for because it's just too expensive. So for that, DaVinci came up with this tool called Magic Mask. Magic Mask is the coolest thing since you pick an element. Here's how Magic Mask works. Magic Mask presumes that you're going to separate a object or a person or elements of an object or a person's face, head, arms, all that stuff. So in that particular scenario, I'm going to use my plus and I'm going to draw a selection of the arms as well as the left arm. There we go. So I kind of highlighted what I think should be separated. If I want to see how that is recognized by the computer, I turn on this tool and now he's separated. So anything that is red, it's him. Now, here comes the big one. In order for me to have that tracked, I have a tracking tool built into the Magic Mask. If you've seen this before, this is not going to be interesting. If you haven't, welcome to the club. And it will take, as I said, depending on how long the shot is and how much of the element is visible. In this case, I don't think it's going to be 7 minutes. Okay, 1 minute 40, 112, it's going through. So you notice that it didn't pick up under the arm. So maybe when I had the selection, I should have gone all through the body, even the legs. Aha, there we go. So it picks up some of the stuff, and this is a semi-artificial intelligence tool, but it will show you what the separation is. And depending on how well you pick the original selection, your result will be better or not as good as you hope for. So with this, it looks like anything under the elbow is not picked because I didn't select that. But the picture is moving. Keep that in mind. So when it's done, the only thing I would like to do is separate him from the background. Therefore, I'm going to have this particular node, right-click on it, watch this, add a node outside, which is the inverted outside node. So that's the inversion. And in the inversion, I'm going to make that black and white. So if I made that black and white, guess what? Everybody, command, that's it, because Murphy's around the corner. Watch it. Even the sticks are black and white. See that? Wow. Without, with. Nice. And clearly, this to me was really a cool thing way back a couple of generations ago. And Magic Mask is much more sophisticated now, much more precise. And as I showed it to you in real time, it's really, really fast. Let's go and see what we can do with this element. That green is not green enough. Okay, so what do you mean by that? This is what I mean by that.
Yes, okay.
That green has to be different because it's a trademark green of that particular product. Okay, now the green starts somewhere here, right? So the producers above my favorite say, well, can you change the green? Generally, the green is changed the following way, and this is what you probably learned in earlier exercises. You pick the color, and the picker is going to be selecting the green. Now you selected the green. I don't know how it's selected, so I look at it and I say, those greens are selected. So if I want to have those greens a little bit wider, more of the green, or maybe center is changed, all this stuff, and I want to have that green, let's see, brighter, I can have it brighter, which is silly, but it is clearly understood. Not that bright, but it is not consistent. Watch it. And it's kind of noisy. So now, here's what my solution is. That tool allows me to pick the range of the green. How? This is a kind of color warper tool, and it has options where I can make the color warper 6 or more little nodes. So here's how it works. If I pick the green, it registers. That's that green dot. If I want to select more of those greens, and I say those greens in the group will become more bluish or yellowish or reddish or purplish. But you see that not all the greens were picked. I only picked an element of the green with that particular thing. And that's not bad. It's like really cool. Does it work real time? Yes, it does.
What are the materials?
If I want to go purplish, let's go nuts. Let's try that.
Now you have a C-fork.
Let's go back to the beginning. There we go.
What are...
To me, that's a very powerful thing if you have consistent color, which in this case, you may not. So watch this scenario, please. This is the tool that we recommend when you are dealing with the color. We do not pick it. We do not add a shape to it because kind of it's not bad, but you can actually, if you want to do that, you work on it. Hey, select only the greens in that area. Hello, there we go. Only the greens inside that window. So I can actually have a separation of the greens, right? And if I look at it, I know that I'm picking that green. There we go. So now I can actually push that green, make only that green brighter. And you see that the shading kind of comes in. And if I want to have that more green, add more green, push the green. There we go. And if I play it, it is, but it's not traced. Oh, because the picture is moving. So I have to track it. The tracking is not a bad one. I like the tracking tool. And the tracking tool would allow me to say, hey, how do you track it? Here's a tracker. Find out if the tracker can do it. There we go. Tracks it. Yeah, it's not a bad tracker, but sometimes when it goes off the screen, you see that it didn't take it. It tracked it at the beginning, but it changed it. So to me, the easier and faster is, obviously, there is a tracking webinar that you guys can check out. This is my helping hand. This is also introduced in other programs. Please say hello to your curves, but not the curves that you're familiar with, Y, RGB, but the curve that is picking a hue versus hue. So I pick a hue, which in this case is that greenish hue. That's the greenish hue. And I'm going to change it to a different element. How does it change? Well, if I didn't pick the right greens, maybe I want to have wider greens, more greens. There we go. And I'm going to change them to all different there. There we go. So I changed it to red. All the greens in that area that is into out. And now if I play it, Command S it.
What are the materials?
Yes, still some of the stuff was not picked, but it is much easier. You see that some of the greens were not picked. And that is your job to make sure that all the other greens are picked. There we go. So you pick all the greens in that spectrum. If I want to change it to different color, obviously I'm changing it to different colors. I'm going to be more like, I don't know, what's a cycle. You have other elements, which is going to be the saturation. So I'm going to pick a hue. So I'm going to change the hue versus saturation. Pick that green, and I'm going to either saturate that green or desaturate it. Desaturate it would mean that I'm going to make it probably black and white, make it desaturate altogether. So I'm picking up all those things. There we go. It's really silly exercise, but you see how powerful and, let me underline, real time it is. There we go.
What are the materials?
Still, some of the stuff is missing, but you can fix it. So with that, I have another element, how to deliver it. Click on the deliver. In this scenario, you want to have the entire show sent out, which would mean that, hey, what am I doing? The entire timeline or in and out range. And here's the one thing that I need to warn you about. If you want to make sure that those subtitles are visible, you need to select it, because I was doing something in earlier when I was demonstrating and I did not select it. So I'm going to do the export subtitles as not a separate file, but as a embedded captions. So if I do the embedded caption, that's when the stuff will be embedded. And when you give it to the client, they will have the subtitles on. So that's the only thing that you need to really worry after the subtitles were generated. Saving your story generally means that you're going to do a Command S, save it, or if you want to export the story and you have it someplace else, you can actually click on the export. And what are you doing? Export the project, which is a DRP, DaVinci Resolve project. So if you want to export it, it's going to ask you where do you want to export it. It will have a DaVinci Resolve project extension on it. You know the code for the saving. So if you want to take some classes, consider us. And these are the packages right now that are available. Thank you for your attention.